What's going on, guys? Today I am going to be smoking a cigar I've had in my collection for quite a while. It's a Tattoo by Tatuaje. It's a limited edition box pressed Lancero. This cigar came out in 2011, I believe. It's a 7.5 by 38 ring gauge box pressed. Just taking it out of the sallow, it's had some age in it. So this particular cigar I've had in my Pelican briefcase humidor. I really like that humidor because I feel like it seals really good, and it's a lot of forgiving, so I don't have to like always be keeping up on the checking the levels and stuff, because it seals so good. It just kind of traps everything inside, doesn't let anything out, doesn't let anything in. This cigar was given to me actually by a gentleman that used to come into the cigar shop I managed. He gave this to me in 2011. Here in Tucson, we have Davis Monthan Air Force Base, and this guy was stationed there for a little while. I believe he was like a translator or interpreter. I can't remember his exact job in the Air Force, but hell of a guy. I'm still friends with him on Facebook. Still keep in touch and comment and stuff here and there. But yeah, he gave it to me, and he's like, yeah, dude, he told me about it, and I didn't know anything about the cigar when he gave it to me. And then I looked into it, and I saw how limited it was, and I was like, holy crap, like I'm gonna save this thing for a little while. And I don't have a ton of Lanceros in my personal collection, so it was one of those ones I kind of like, it's not yet, I don't want to smoke it yet, I just kind of saved aside. But looking at it today, it's 10 years old. It's a really limited run. Yeah, it's time to burn it up and see what it's all about. I still haven't gone to the shop and gotten butane, so I've actually found this little disposable Asylum little torch, so better than a soft flame right now. It is a little breezy today, but it's super nice out, so be a nice day to enjoy the smoke. Wow, still has a lot of flavor for being so old. 10 years, that's a good amount of age for a cigar to, I've got stuff that's a lot older than that in my collection, but you don't want to age a cigar too long, because then it just gets so mellow sometimes, and it's just like, it's literally like, I don't know, I kind of feel like there's a time frame when you age a cigar. You don't want to overdo it, but you want to definitely put some time on it. So far, man, oh my god. So this cigar, there was a total of 5,100 rolled. So they made 340 bundles of 15. So it's a really limited cigar. At the time, they retailed for around like 10 bucks or so, but they came in bundles of 15, and then I believe they were for like 150 MSRP, I believe. Yeah, there's so much limited edition Tatuaje stuff. It's really hard to keep up. I certainly don't have the time. You got the whole Monster lineup, and I couldn't even tell you what Monster they're on now. Actually got quite a bit of Monsters left in my collection. I started on the Dracula, so I got Monsters from that line. But the only ones I don't have now are like the latest Chuckies and stuff like that. Like I didn't get into those, like the little trucks and the Tiffs and whatnot. I kind of stopped at the Michael Myers, collecting the Tatuaje Monsters. There's just so many limited edition stuff, and like I said, I got out of the industry a little bit, so I lack the knowledge, I guess you could say, on like what the new stuff is. I just haven't cared to really look into it. But yeah, this one was a limited edition back in 2011 when it was released, and wow, it's a good one. Still has some body to it. I actually thought it'd be a little mellower. You see, when a cigar does this to the cellophane that it's in, it's actually the oils of the wrapper excreting out, and it gets saturated into the cellophane. Over time, it just collects, and it actually, that's what that tint is. It kind of turns the cellophane brown to like an amber brown color. So usually when you see that on a cigar, you kind of figure, oh, that's going to mellow out, because a lot of the oils in the, you know, have what do you say, excreted. I'm sure you know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, they've kind of leaked out of the cigar over time. And that's what actually causes, like if you notice in a lot of aged cigars, when people smoke them, they tend to say like how mellow they've turned out, how smooth. It's because a lot of the oils have come out, so it kind of changed the flavor of what the wrapper's supposed to taste like. So yeah, that's why you don't really want to have an aged cigar too long. I mean, there's dudes that have cigars that are like decades old. I mean, you can go, typically like as long as the cigar is humidified well, you can have one. I mean, when I turned 25, I actually smoked one that was 25 years old. It was some Nat Sherman brand. Shit, I could really wish, I can't even remember the logo. But what had happened is somebody had saved a box in the Nat Sherman store in New York City, and they forgot about it. They went back to the store a few years later, and then they've had that box just in their collection. And then the guy ended up coming into the shop one day, and he was just passing them out to everybody. And he told me they were 22 years old at that time, so this was like maybe like 2010, 11 or something. Shit, I'm so bad with numbers. Anyways, when I turned 25 is when I smoked that thing. That is when that thing turned 25. So, and honestly, that thing, it wasn't, that thing, I think it overaged, because when I smoked that, it literally was like smoking a Macanudo. It was just super mild. Just, it was almost like smoking air. It did have a little bit of flavor, but I mean, it was, kind of like, I feel like I missed the boat a little bit on that one. Yeah, this one's good. It's aged well. Yeah, this was all Nicaragua filler binder. Wrappers Habano Rosado Oscuro. It's a nice little medium brown color to it. It's not a deep hue brown cigar. It did have a little bit of plume on it, but not much. But yeah, this thing. I'm surprised for a Lancero how much give it has. Usually they're packed, you know, it's such a small roll. They're usually very dense cigars, but this one has a little give. I was surprised. I'm like, wow, it's actually drawing really good. I did have a small, I noticed a little crackage. Not sure if you can see it, kind of the blemish right there. There's a tiny little crack, but still smoking. There's no smoke escaping through it, so far we're good. Yeah, that's something I would definitely recommend to anybody. I mean, even if you're just a beginning cigar smoker or somebody that's been smoking for a long time, you know, having something put away for a long time, it's like a little investment, but in the end, when you try it out, it's actually really fun. And to smoke something that's really old. I've been collecting cigars since 2008, so, and I got some stuff that's a little even older than that, but now is like the time, because 10 years, that's a good amount of time. You don't want to go, like I said, you don't want to go too much on anything's pretty bad. So I have seen some of these for sale on there's like cigar pages I'm on where people trade and sell cigars, and I've seen some of these go upwards anywhere between 50 to 100 bucks. Like I said, when it came out, it was 10 bucks. I can see people, you know, wanting to up it just because of the age on it, but and due to the scarcity of it. But yeah, man, it's a good cigar. I don't know how. Like I said, trying to find something like this now might include a little detective work searching for it, but if you could find one, you're in for a good smoke. Still drawing great. A little bit of wind breeze out here. I mean, it's not too bad, but usually where I'm at is a pretty windy area. So I'm actually happy with it being just a tad bit of a breeze. But yeah, I didn't want to drink anything with this. I wanted to have another straight up smoke session with this one. Didn't want to pair it with anything, especially with the age on it. Figured I want to taste everything from this thing, so I don't want to mix it with anything. So yeah, it's such a simple band too. I mean, it's just straight up tattoo on the band, the little gold around, and then with a lot of the limited exclusive series from Tatuaje, they have that colored, that red, white and blue. It almost looks like a French flag a little bit. Yeah, it's a cool little band. It's one thing Pete Johnson's always done. He keeps it simple with his bands, with the packaging and everything. Nothing's too crazy, except for like when you go to the Monster series. Like, I mean, some of the boxes get a little intricate and pretty cool. I still have a couple of the Dracula boxes shaped like a coffin. Really cool, like a Dracula's casket. Then the sarcophagus for the mummy was actually really rad too. That was another cool box. But yeah, man, Tatuaje has always been I feel like Tatuaje is like the boutique of all boutique brands. Even though they're not, I don't consider them really a boutique brand anymore, because they're pretty big. I mean, they're literally pretty much in most cigar shops. You can find them anywhere. We started carrying Tatuaje in 2008 at the shop I had, that I had managed. We started with the Miami series and the Selección de Cazadores, the brown labels, red labels were the Miamis. And then I remember we would do events, so then that's when we would get like the black label Robustos at the time, for like events. So like you bought a box or whatever, they would do specials, and you could buy like a pack of 3, or it would come with a pack of 3 Robusto black labels. And at that time, that black label Robusto was made, it was like Pete Johnson's like personal blend that he smoked. So it was kind of cool getting that, because it was something that wasn't in production. And then later they did release those for regular production. You could get those. You can go into pretty much any tobacco shop who carries Tatuaje, and they'll have the black label. One of my favorite, actually there's 2 cigars that are some of my favorites from the Selección de Cazadores, the brown labels, the Reggio and the Noella. The Noella is like my shit. Like, that's like one of my favorite go-to cigars, just because it's a nice little Corona. I think the Reggio is like a Robusto extra. It's like a little bit longer than a Robusto, but it's not quite a Toro, I don't believe. I think when like Cigar Aficionado does ratings, I think when they've rated that one, they've put it in the Toro category before. I think, I could be wrong. I mean, but yeah, it's a little bigger than a standard Robusto. But I've spent many mornings enjoying those cigars. That brown label, man, that's just a great morning to midday cigar. I mean, it's just got perfect. It actually is like very reminiscent of like a little bit of Cuban flavors to that, but it's that Nicaragua tobacco, man. I just think it's the bee's knees. It's my favorite tobacco of them all. I just think it's just tastes the best. Smooth, has some body to it at the same time. It's just really good stuff. Hit a little bit of a spot. You notice that with there's like a pocket, so it didn't catch there for a little bit. So the rolling, I mean, it's from my time going to factories and stuff, seeing rollers roll and going down to Central America. I would always talk to them. I was fortunate enough to be able to speak Spanish, so I would be able to talk to the rollers while we're doing our tours and stuff. And a lot of them, I mean, there's a select amount of rollers, depending on what country where they roll the cigars, that roll Lanceros, smaller ring gauge stuff. It's a little harder to do that. They love, like I'd talk to them and they would tell me like some of their favorites to roll or the bigger ring gauge stuff. Like when they get, they were actually a little fascinated with the USA's consumption of like 60 ring gauge cigars, and even bigger. I mean, you get into some of the Asylum stuff, I mean, they get fucking huge ring gauge. I just could never get into that. A 60 ring gauge, that's about my limit, and even then, I don't really like to smoke a cigar that big. It's just, I don't know, just so big. I just don't like the way it feels. It's not for me. But for them, it's easier to roll because they're bunching the tobacco when they get the binder, the filler together. It's easier to handle, and then to roll it in the binder, and then to roll it, it's just easier because it's just a bigger surface area. So they always tell me that they can do that all day long. That's easy money for them. But like when they got to get into the Coronas, doing Lanceros, you know, you're getting less filler and binder inside such a smaller ring gauge. So blending that particular amount of like precise amount of tobacco into that size and then rolling it just takes a little more work, a little more skill. So if you got a guy that can roll a Lancero for you, man, that's like fucking having gold mine, because they're tough to do and it's a popular size. I mean, you look at a lot of Cuban cigars, they don't really do a lot of big ring gauges, like 54, 56. That's kind of a good majority of sizes that they go up to. But like, I just, something about like a 46 ring gauge, that's like perfect to me. That's like a good size. And it's 46 and smaller, I can do that all day long. I love that. Robusto, when you get to like a 52, it's good, but man, like just something like a small cigar, it just feels good in the hand. It doesn't feel like it takes forever to smoke either. So I kind of like that. Yeah, nothing like a good Lancero. Yeah, and like I said, this guy was originally a box press cigar. I mean, with time and age, and you figure with the amount of humidity that's come in and out of the cigar throughout the decade, going through my humidor, it's rounded out a tad. You can still kind of see it ovaled a little bit at the head. I mean, it's, for the most part, it kind of is. When it gets to about the mid-range here, it starts to oval out, round out. But yeah, it turned into a great cigar. Curious, it would have been nice to smoke one in 2011 and then try it now to see really the difference. Like now, the only thing I can taste is from now, so that would have been pretty cool to compare it from the flavors on that. I get a lot of wood notes, a little bit of coffee notes off of it. It does have a little bit of like an earthy taste to it too, but it's a smooth cigar. It's smoothed out. It's actually a little heavier at the front of the cigar. Now it's gone in the middle, it's kind of smoothed a little more. I mean, you almost get like, well, almost like a marshmallowy type of, like a burnt sugar, like caramel type of a taste on the retrohale there. But like I said, it can be exaggerations. Don't take my word for it. There's times where I'm listening to people talking about a cigar and I'm like, man, this guy's fucking full of shit. He's bullshitting. Then I try it and I'm like, you know, everybody's taste is different. That's just what I'm getting out of it. What I taste is not going to be what you taste, like I've said before. It's completely different. But I do feel this cigar, anybody who's smoked cigars for a while, having it this time, 10 years after from when it was produced, they would appreciate it. They would know that it's a good aged cigar. It aged well. It's a good smoke. So I mean, I'm confident in saying that. So if you could find one, happy huntings, and man, you'd be in for a treat, because I'm glad I saved it for this time. Perfect Wednesday afternoon, sunny. man, it almost has a little bit of a, like a rose, like a floral, very floral note to it too. When I retrohaled it there, it almost smelled like a, or tasted like a, almost like a rose petal, but I'm not trying to bullshit you, but it really did taste very florally. I've gotten that taste before. There's been a couple Cuban por la rañagas that I've had that kind of give me that type of a note. I'm trying to think of, there's a couple Cuban H. Upmans, the Magnum 46s. When I retrohale those, I kind of get that note. It's very rare though, I don't get that very often, but man, this place is kind of all over the place. I believe when this cigar came out, it was more in the medium to full range. I honestly, I would kind of feel it started that way. Now it's turned out to be more of a, more on the mild to medium side. Like on a scale of 10, it started out, a 10 being the highest, I'd say it started out about a good 7, 6.5. It's toned down now. It's probably at about like a 4.5 right now. So it's, which is kind of unusual. Usually when you smoke a small cigar, it builds as it goes. I don't feel like it's built. I feel like it's just kind of smoothed out, and yeah. So right now I'm approaching the part with the little bit of the crackage where that little crack was. So you can kind of see it like kind of popping up a little bit. It's held together. So you know you got some good construction right there. It's smoking through, just catching up to it, and it's not spreading the crack. Sometimes when if you have a cigar with the cracked wrapper, when you get to that area, the heat approaching that will make this tobacco expand. So where that crack is, you'll notice it'll kind of pop open a little more and flake. So far, it's not doing that. It's kind of holding up. So not only that, there's a pretty good little vein. It's not very big, but there is a little vein. That could be why it's kind of keeping it intact. But yeah, really happy with my selection today. Couldn't have picked a better cigar to smoke today. This will definitely be a Tatuaje I'll remember for a while. Man. I remember going to trade shows, going to like the so my father's cigars is actually the factory that rolls P. Johnson's to Tatuaje lines, and his booth was always like right near my father booth. But like it was always cool going to see, like, I remember 2009 in this was New Orleans. And it was so awesome too. It was one of my first times ever going to New Orleans, and it was IPCPR. I think at that time it might have been RTDA, Retail Tobacco Distributors of America. I don't think it switched to IPCPR. I could be wrong, or maybe that was 2008. Like I said, it's been a while, but that trade show was really cool because in New Orleans, and it was just so humid there, and I was tripping out because like you go to the booths and like the cigars are just out there. They're not in humidors. They're not like encapsulated where the humidifiers, because there's so much humidity in the city already. So the cigars could just go out, and it didn't affect them. And it was just the coolest thing seeing the. I think the monster at that time was the. What the heck was it? It wasn't the Dracula. I think that was the year before. Might have been the Wolfman, I think, that they were displaying. But like seeing the box of it made, the Wolfman box was really gnarly because it was kind of like a dark brown, and it kind of looked a little scratched up and stuff, and just seeing all that stuff displayed. And I think at that time is when some of the Cojonus were being released, and yeah, man, and then meeting Pete. Pete's a hell of a dude. He's pretty nice dude, really nice. I remember Pete's an avid soccer fan. And I remember I watched soccer myself, and I had a Valencia jersey on. And I remember him looking at me, and I was like, introduced myself, and he's like, look, that's a cool jersey, man. And I was like, it was pretty rad just knowing that somebody knew that jersey. A lot of people didn't know what it was, so I was like, it's kind of cool that he knew. Yeah, that was a really rad trade show. One of my first times getting into like Tatuaje was like being able to see all that product and getting to try it out was actually really cool too. He always gave cool swag too. He always gave these little backpacks. I still have them too. There's an orange one and then this little black, and it's got this really badass fleur-de-lis on it. It says Tatuaje across. Really cool. So it's kind of stuff you keep from the trade shows. Keep all my stuff in it. Truly exceptional cigar. I would be curious to see how many of these actually are still out in the world, you know, throughout the years, people buying and smoking them. And I'm sure there's people, collectors, that still have them, especially Tatuaje. You have some fans of that brand. There's some diehard Tatuaje collectors, so I'm sure that there's still some out there. So I mean, if you're watching this and you have some buddies that are Tatuaje collectors, check it out. See, maybe you might try to either bum one or buy one off of them because it'd be a good smoke. I still can't get over that cellophane. It's amazing. So you're getting a little lemony for me now. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm glad you were able to hang out. Another edition of Smoking with Fred. If you have any comments on this cigar, if you smoked one before, throw them down in the comments. I'd love to read them. If not, no biggie. Long ashes, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and until next time.